spending on deals, getting the electricity from outside of Lebanon. They can build a new factory which can provide electricity to all Lebanon. They should have done that a long time ago, but they're still not doing anything about it.
Let's go to Beirut and speak to Ronnie Shatta, who's a podcaster at the Beirut Banyan. Ronnie, it's been at least 12 months since I spoke to you. And, you know, we often have you on as an analyst, but today I really wanted to get your personal take on your life and those of your friends and your family. And I want to take you back to 24 hours ago on Tuesday when the World Bank, no less, one of the world's leading international organizations, said that the elite in Lebanon have created this crisis and they continue to abuse their position. What were you guys talking about when you heard that from the World Bank?
Well, I always appreciate coming on, so thank you for having me. I'll start with the earlier question, and this may sort of show just how bad the situation is. I, like many in Beirut, get 2 hours of government electricity, and I got stuck in the elevator about 3 times yesterday within 5 minutes. The power is not 2 hours consistent. The power is 2 hours if you're lucky, and it broke 3 times. So that gives you a flavor for how bad things are. In terms of the 2-hour increase, I mean, that is a technically 100% increase in government power that we're getting right now in Beirut. I think the World Bank statement and report, I think it's fair, except that it doesn't focus on the entire problem. It focuses on something that we desperately need, which is reform, absolutely, and that corruption cannot persist. And there has to be some reform measures taken prior to this deal even going through. And this deal has been going through, I think it's in the works now for almost half a year. And it's a convoluted, complicated deal with the World Bank, Jordan, and even Syria circumventing sanctions. So it's complicated. It seems like it's moving forward, but that's maybe half the story. The other half is something that maybe the World Bank cannot write, and maybe others in diplomatic circles think about regularly, but it doesn't appear regularly in policy papers. That Lebanon's problem is political. It's political, it's regional, and it's geopolitical. Those issues seem to keep Lebanon in paralysis, not necessarily the local factors that were honed in the World Bank report.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I think what you're saying is that there are forces at play that mean if the citizenry were going to use the democratic process to get the changes that they're demanding, and clearly there need to be huge changes, even if the people wanted that and used the democratic process to try to achieve it, it wouldn't happen. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the last time we spoke, if it was about a year ago, I think it had to do with the port blast, if I'm not mistaken, our earlier conversation, and the aftermath of the port blast. There's a local investigation that has been paralyzed. The government met for the first time since October last year to discuss the budget. It's their first meeting in 3 months. It's been paralyzed because of the judge, Tariq Bitar, who has insisted on carrying through in his work. That's paralysis. Long-term reform is necessary, but ignoring political violence in this country does not guarantee much in that world. I appreciate the sentiment in the World Bank report, and I appreciate the sentiment by many local politicians in the making that want to focus on the local, because the local is the agency that's left. But when it comes to Lebanon's standing in the region and the reasons why 32 years after the civil war ended, we look like a war zone, I think that's beyond a local protester, and that may even be beyond a World Bank report.
The problem is, as we've heard from people who study one particular element of how civil society behaves, is that when there's an increase in poverty, it actually leads to an increase in violence as well, and theft and all sorts of criminality. How do people survive? How are they managing with the complete collapse almost of the currency, with fuel shortages, with everything that's going on in hyperinflation and all of this? How literally does a human being survive?
It's a great question. I don't really know. I mean, across the street, I see there's about maybe 7 trash cans. Every morning I wake up, there's somebody inside collecting something from the trash can. There's poverty on the streets of Beirut. There's sickness, there's illness. I know too many friends that cannot get medication, that they look for medicine abroad, sometimes in Turkey, sometimes elsewhere. And yeah, people are suffering in ways that are unimaginable in this country. It's been a rapid decline. And the country does seem like it's in free fall. And you mentioned the lira rate. I mean, it's been wobbling between something like 23,000 and 33,000 lira to the dollar in the last 2 weeks. Just over 2 years ago, it was at 1,500 lira to the dollar. So it's 90%, if not more, depreciation. A lot of Lebanese have left. Too many, I think. Too many have departed. And I'm lucky in the sense that electricity is even on at this time. I was betting on it. That's maybe a silly example, but it shows that even at this time, 9:30 p.m., there's no guarantee that there will be power. And it is cold at the moment in Beirut. I assume it's very cold in Istanbul as well. I mean, people are freezing. And it's unthinkable that this could happen to this country. At the same time, there is some respite in that reform, no matter how it happens, whether it's through a regional settlement, whether Iran reconsiders its security needs in Lebanon, I'm focusing in on Hezbollah, whether the bigger issues are left to later, there still is a push to receive some, even if it's cosmetic, some marginal reform that could pave the way for a better Lebanon long term. And I think that is the goal at hand. Bigger problem-solving negotiations or even discussions, I don't think they're happening. And it's a shame, because Lebanon should not be in this condition. And I don't think it is Lebanon's fault that we have reached this crippling, painful scenario.
Ronnie, thank you so much indeed. Ronnie Shatta speaking to us from Beirut. Take care.